Hey guys, Kalika here. It's time to talk about portrait. So I'm going to go over the basics of how to do a portrait. We're going to keep it very simple so that anybody can understand it. And we'll go through how to draw a bust, which is a head, neck, and partial shoulder. So let me go ahead and share my screen so we can get started. One thing I want you guys to keep in mind is take lots of notes. Watch this video again if you need to. That way you can help educate yourself in terms of how to get the portrait down. So let's go ahead and get started with the portrait. First thing I do when I draw a portrait is I like to think about the shape of the head. Everybody has a specific shape of their head. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and write this out on the side over here. Let me choose a slightly thicker pin line. Okay, so shape of the head, and write that down, okay? So you may have an oval head, you may have a circular head, you may have a head which resembles more of a rectangle, square, those kind of look the same, but you get my idea. You may have a narrow jawline and a narrow forehead and a wide jawline, or the opposite, okay? Or you could have large cheekbones, wide cheekbones. You could have maybe a widow's peak. So just giving you an idea, and maybe a narrow jawline, just giving you an idea of the shape of the head. So you want to identify shape of the head. So what we'll do is we'll just kind of draw a line down the center. And again, you could watch this video again, but it's more effective if you take notes, okay? So I'm going to give you the shape of the head over here. So let's say we have a person who is more oval in nature. Okay, so do a head like that. Okay, so shape of the head. Number 2. We're going to do the axis lines, okay? And what the axis lines are plumb and level lines that go on the portrait. So I'm going to change colors for you. The one that is going to go vertical, we're going to put it in red. That's going to be called a plumb line. And then the one that goes horizontal, we'll put it in blue, and we'll call that a level line, okay? All right, so when you draw your plumb line, it changes according to how the face is, and so does the level line. So let's go ahead and draw that out over here. I'm going to give you a couple examples. So we'll have a frontal face. We'll have a face that is 3/4, and I'll just draw a couple faces here. So this one will be what we call anterior, which is from the front, okay? Posterior is from the back, lateral is from the side, but we'll go anterior, okay? This next one is going to be looking to the right and looking up. We'll have one looking to the left and looking down. We could have someone maybe just turning their head to the right. Let's say we're anterior. Well, no, that doesn't really make sense. Well, it is anterior, but let me undo that and give you a different example. We'll just say they're turning their head to the right. Okay, so we'll just say turning to the right. And then the next one, let's give it a tilt. Some people just tilt their head like that. Okay, so let's get all the axis lines on there in terms of the plumb lines. So I'll switch over to my red. We have a frontal face. It's just going to go straight down the face like that. If someone's looking to the right side, think about the head as like an egg, and that if you put a string down the center of the face, that would wrap around that way. And then on the left, it'll wrap this way. On the right, again, we'll wrap that way. And then if they're just tilting, it's just going to be at a diagonal, okay? You want the level lines to be at a 90-degree angle. And so on the anterior, we're just going to go straight across. If someone looks up, then what happens is their eyes arch like a sad face. So think of sad face, okay? When they look down, think of happy face, like that, okay? And then if they're just looking to the side, it's going to resemble a little bit of what we call like in the anterior. That's why I was mentioning that earlier. And if they tilt, you just make sure that it's a 90-degree angle. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do those plumb lines and level lines on my portrait. So forgive me if it looks cheesy, but you'll get the idea as we do it. So you should be sketching the same thing. Okay, so we'll go across like that. Now, these are super important. I think people underestimate the axis lines altogether because they think that they know how to do the portrait. But if you don't get the axis lines, that's when you get an eye too high, too low, and something just doesn't look right. There's something wrong with the alignment. So I've been drawing portraits for over 10 years now. I still draw axis lines. It's not something that just magically goes away, okay? So now we're gonna get in the next one, and we'll put in the eye sockets. Okay, so I'm gonna go to this color over here. I'll do number 3 and go to eye sockets. Now remember, there's no right or wrong way to handle this, but this is what I do. So I'll just teach you what I do, okay? So eye sockets, and I know there's several people who teach it differently, which is fine. I'm going to get into a green for the eye sockets, and I'll just try to illustrate that right on top of my number 2 illustrations. They'll be kind of small, but you'll understand. In a frontal view, we're just going to go across like this, above and below, and then go outwards, kind of like what you see with my glasses right now, where you would go across the top, across the bottom, and then pinch on the side like this. So if I'm doing it on my actual drawing over here, I'll go along with the lines of the eye, go out, and you're just trying to identify your eye socket. And I know that was hard to see in that small photo up there. So something like that, okay? So eye sockets will either go this way for frontal, okay? For our illustration number 2, so if I can number these 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so that'll be our illustration for number 1. For number 2, you're going to arch with the eyes. So we're going to go sad face, and because we're looking to the right, it'll go inwards and then like that. That's number 2. Okay, so you would go there to there, arch it, there to there, arch it. Okay, similar thing, but reverse. We're going to go this way, turn it this way, and curve. And it just follows the major line of the eyes, which is that blue line. So we're going to go this way, curve in, this way, curve in. Okay, that would be 3. Number 4 would just look, I'll do number 4 up here because I'm going to run out of room. So number 4 would be straight because the person just turned their head like that. Okay, and then we're going to go like this and like this. That would be number 4. And then we'll put 5 over here. That would be at a tilt. So it'd be at a diagonal tilt like that. And then it will resemble the frontal like that. That would be 5. Okay. All right. So now we have the eye sockets. So we've already drawn those up, and you could subdivide them as well. So I'm going to go ahead and subdivide them on my drawing over here by going in here and then out, and then in here and out. So now we have 2 eye sockets. We've also created what we call the keystone. And the keystone, I'll just shade with yellow in the middle. That's this area right here. The great thing about the keystone is it is a nice shape to look at to understand where your nose is starting. And it also links together the eyes and the nose. It's a very great landmark to kind of reference on the figure. So that's going to be the keystone. And I should probably write that out in here. I'll just say, let's see. Let me grab my black, and then I'll just say here, keystone. And remember, you just want to identify that. And the reason why I mention it too is because if it seems like you have a longer nose, sometimes it's just the positioning of your keystone that's causing your nose to be longer. It's not like your nose is literally dropping down longer. So you want to pay attention to that too, okay? Let's move on to the next step. So if I could number these like I'm doing, I'm going to go to number 4, okay? And actually, let me backtrack a little bit and show you a little bit of why we put the eyes where they were. I forgot to tell you that. So we might be all over the place, but this is live, so it is what it is, right? If you take this and you go all the way down, okay, the eyes tend to be halfway, okay? So that's going to be eyes. From the top of the head to the bottom of the chin. Now, this is all just rule of thumb. It doesn't mean like it's guaranteed that your eyes will be halfway. Some are higher, some are lower, but this is just something to look for, okay? And if you could split this up into 1/3, so this would be 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3. You want to kind of show that the nose would be there and that the mouth would be here, okay? Again, just rule of thumb, okay? And we could kind of draw those out like this and then here. Okay, and remember that if you're in this 3/4 view to the side, it's going to arch. So the nose and the mouth will always follow the eyes, okay, with that curve. That's why axis lines are really important, because the nose and the mouth will follow the eyes. So once you get the eyes, you understand the nose and the mouth. Okay, so we could say identify nose and mouth for step number 4, which is what I did just now. So I'll go ahead and write that down. Identify position of nose and mouth. Nose and mouth. Now we did that vertically, okay? So we still need to figure out the width of the nose and the mouth, but that's going to be based off the eyes. And I've identified that with brown lines, just so you understand, okay? All right, so let's go into the eyes, and there's some things to do and some things not to do. And so I'll just kind of split this up into little categories, okay? So let's give it this little section over here. We'll say that number 5 is going to be eyes, okay? I'll tell you what to do, what not to do. We're gonna go over here, and then I usually take it to the nose. So I'll do 6 will be the nose. And then we'll take it over here and bring you to the mouth. Okay, so 7, we'll make it to the mouth. Okay, then I go to 8, which is ball of chin. So ball of chin. Okay, and then that takes me all the way back to number 1. So then I go back to 1. So just to kind of reiterate what I said before, number 1 is where we started, but this is also the most flexible because no one really has a diamond face, you know, like it'll round and it'll be more particular to what that person looks like, but that's just a starting point. So this one has to be, this will change. So this will change in the end. And then this one is mandatory to do, okay? Because otherwise, like I said, your eyes are all over the place. Okay, so let's go into the eyes and we'll just kind of talk about that in that box number 5 over there. Then I'll quickly draw it in my figure onto the right side. So I'm gonna give you an example of what I've seen in the past, which kind of looks like a centipede. You know, people drawing eyes like this. That's, I don't know what that is, but don't draw that, okay? That's not a 3-dimensional eye, okay? One, it's way too many eyelashes, and I don't know whether that's the left eye or right eye. I don't know what's going on, okay? So when you draw the eye, I want you to think about a couple things, okay? So typically the eye, or not typically, the eye is a circle, okay? And if you look at this from a side view, what you're looking at, which is lateral, remember, we're looking at the upper eyelid coming and grabbing that eye, and then it's kind of going like this. So that's the upper eyelid. And then you're looking at the lower eyelid coming and grabbing the eye like this. So that's the lower eyelid. Okay, this is from a side view. And then obviously eyelashes and whatnot, okay? Your iris on this side would be kind of small and at an oval, okay? So what you're noticing here is there's an absence of eye right here in this corner where I'm putting a dot. So that area will have shadow mask. Plus, if you just think about it, if I put my hand here and put this hand overlapping it, it'll cause a little bit of cast shadow because that eyelid is grabbing that eye in the socket. So it's like an awning for a patio cover. That's going to cause a little bit of a cast shadow onto the eye. And so you'll see a little bit of shadow mask right underneath that eye right there, okay? Eyelid right there, okay? And so typically when I draw an eye, this is what I'll do. I'll do the tear duct. Let's say this is the right eye, R-E, right eye. Okay, so I'll do the tear duct like this, like a half, like a little square without the other side. And then I want to break the eye up into 3 planes, which means planes is a surface. So if you look at my forehead, a plane of my surface would not be flat. It would have to go up on the side, across the front, and down the side, minimum 3 to make it look round. So when I'm doing the forehead, I'm sorry, when I'm doing the eye, I want to get something similar. So I'm going to go up like that. Then I'll go over, and then I go down, 3 planes, okay? For the lower plane, I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna go down and then I'll go up, 2 planes, okay? So I have 3 on the top and I have 2 on the bottom. Now, everybody's eyes are different, so I'm just giving you a way to start, but you really have to look at your eyes or whoever's eyes you're drawing and see what their eyes really do. Do they go up, over, or down? Does it go, you know, kind of flatter? Is it wider? What is the person doing with their eyes? Are their eyes really open? Because depending on how they're, you know, squinting or whatever will affect all that. So again, this is just rule of thumb, okay? Now we already know that the eye is a sphere, okay? So this part right here is the tear duct, and then this part over here is kind of, you know, the muscles of the eye holding it together. And then we have the iris in the center. Now, sometimes the iris won't touch the bottom eyelid. Sometimes it will. It just depends on that person's eye. And then you have pupil in the center, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and shade this outward, kind of like a starburst, like that. Now we also know that the tear duct is like the muscles. We're gonna go ahead and pull that value here because we talked about how it's a sphere. So we wanna make it look 3-dimensional, and then go here as well. And then remember that in the last drawing I showed you over here, there's that cast shadow underneath the eyelid. So you put a little bit of value here. So really the sclera, which is that white part of the eye, is not really that white. You wanna make sure you don't put it too white, okay? Then once you finish this up, you're getting the eyelid, 3 planes going across, over, down, and then you're getting that bottom eyelid, kind of 2 planes. One thing you will notice is that the upper eyelid tends to overlap the lower eyelid. So we're not pinching the corner, like we did here, okay? It's more of an overlapped area. And then you've got the shadow mask to make it look three-dimensional. And then you've got the tear duct on the other side. So if you're bringing value on this side, you'll have a little bit of light right underneath the eye, and then the eyelid will catch some darkness. So we'll put a little bit of value on the bottom side of this eye as well, okay? So that's really how you draw an eye, not the first one, okay? Let's go to the nose. I've also seen people draw noses like this. I must admit, when I was younger, I probably started that way. But there's a better way to do this. So bear with me as I change colors, because I think the colors will help you figure this out. Now, I will give you 2 different versions. I mean, everybody has different noses. So I'm just giving you 2 different versions. So you'll want to do whatever is according to you. But what I like to start off with is the top plane of the nose. Okay, so that would be the bridge of the nose. Okay. Now, like I said, everyone's nose is different. So I'm going to just kind of give you 2 different noses. You may have one that goes a little smaller on the middle there, a little narrow there. Okay, that's the top plane of the nose. And that's basically picking off on your keystone. So remember, we talked about the keystone before. So this is the keystone right here, okay, which is why that helps you with the bridge of the nose. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and keep shading that yellow so that you guys know we're still referring to the keystone here. Okay? And I showed you where it is on the figure. So if you have more of a, if you feel like you have a longer nose, or if you're drawing maybe a Greek statue or something like that, you'll notice that the keystone is higher up because you're seeing the nose start higher up. My nose tends to start slightly above my eyes, so I'll have it be up here a little bit more for mine. And then when I draw the plane, top plane of the nose, I'm going like this, okay? And then ending it about here, okay? Again, you would have had the eyes in there, so I'm gonna give you my cheesy version of eyes because I don't have time to draw that out, but you saw it in that box number 5, okay? All right, so now we get the side of the nose. So this is the side plane, which is this side coming down on this side, and then we want to do the other side coming down on this side, okay? So we're going to go arch down like that. Think about, sorry, I meant to bring it from, not from the keystone. I meant to bring it from here. Sorry about that. And then go down like that. So think about if you had a nose job or if you had a brace on your nose, you know, that's that we're drawing right now. Okay, so this is going to come down like this and come down like that. And then we're going to finish off the bottom. Okay, so it's the bottom plane of the nose. So now we've got top, side, side, bottom. Okay. And then again, I would do on this side, that side plane of the nose just kind of feeds off the eye socket. So you can see how like a puzzle piece, these all kind of connect together, which is nice. And then that bottom plane of the nose down here. Okay. Most people, when you're drawing a portrait, if you feel like your portrait's too long, I would say 90% of the time it's in the nose. You're making the nose too long. So I like to look at the distance between my nose and my eye. So if I put my finger here and just kind of roll that up, that distance there is a very small distance. And if you look at your drawing, you're going to find that maybe you're drawing that section too long. And that'll be where you know you need to pull the nose up. So just check. It's kind of like if you think about a river, the distance from there, if I'm pulling my eye to this little line from my nose, what's that distance there? And that'll help you identify how long the eye is. I'm sorry, how long the nose is. If you put your head up, remember that the nose starts to go in line with the eyes. And if you move your head down, then that nose is going to drop down because you're seeing more the top of your head. So just pay attention to what you're doing, or whoever you're drawing, what you're doing in that position for the nose. So let's move on from here. And I'll just change colors to maybe choose a blue, okay? We want to get the ball of the nose. Everyone's ball of the nose is slightly different. I would say mine is more round. So I'm going to go overlap a little bit here and do a round ball of the nose there. You may also have one that looks more oval, okay? Or diamond shape, just depends on your nose. So we'll do that, 2 different types, okay? So I would do that on this side as well. And then I want to get the side flare of the nostril. So we'll keep those in maybe a green, okay, so that we can separate the values, do a little bit, or colors, do a little bit of a side square like that, like a tilted square like that, okay. This one I'm going to go down more like that and come up. Like again, I'm giving you different versions of how to draw a nose. This one's a little slanted like that. And then do a little triangle as if that blue part was ice cream and the green part is the ice cream cone. So now we're putting a little bit of a triangle right there on that bottom plane of the nose. So you can see where we're going with this. I'm going to take my black, oops, that's not black. Take my black and then just kind of finish this off. So we will go around that part and round it out and go here. We'll take this and round it out there and go to the inside. That'll be where that hole, the nostril is there. Okay, and then we'll round this out like that. Then you have the ball of the nose. Okay, so if you're shading, if the light's coming from this way, you'll probably have some value here. The light may be hitting that little side plane of your nose, you know, right here. So you may have a little bit of shadow mask coming down here. And then this is the eye socket right there. So you can see how this is all coming together right there. Okay, so this is eye socket right there. Your eyes would be somewhere starting in here, okay? And then again, finishing this one off, maybe you're seeing more into the nostrils. So maybe the nostril goes higher like that. Because like I said, everybody's nose is different. So maybe this one has more visible nostril, okay, than the ball of the nose. So you can see where that's heading, okay. Then we go to the philtrum. The philtrum will take you to the mouth. So the philtrum, just kind of think about an arrow like that, okay. And then I'll do the same thing here. That's that dip, okay. Think about an arrow. And so if I had a nose here, let me just quickly get something. Okay. I broke it down on the side so you know where we're going with it. And then philtrum, okay, so to take me to the nose. Okay, so now remember this part of the mouth represents the center line. It's not the top, it's not the bottom, it's like the center of the mouth. And so you may have to adjust it based off of the philtrum. And the reason why you don't want to jump around, you don't want to, you know, draw the head, draw the axis lines, do the eyes, then go to the mouth, because everything is relative. You know, your eyes and then your nose and then your mouth, whether you're going up, meaning mouth, nose, and eyes, or you're going down, eyes, nose, and mouth, you don't want to start jumping around, because just like a puzzle piece, if you you want to make sure everything fits, like all the pieces fit as you move around. You don't want to just jump and take a guess, right? So when you draw a mouth, this is probably one thing you don't want to do, like that, okay? Looks like a bird, and then you turn it into, you know, a mouth like that. So that's flat. All these on the top are flat. We want to draw something more three-dimensional. So what's the most important thing about the mouth? You know, the fact that it opens, the fact that we can eat, breathe, all that stuff. The center line is what we're looking at as an important feature of the mouth. So it's about the characteristics of the center line. Your center line may go at a triangle on the sides, which means right at the crease, it's more triangular. And then that may go up like this, come down, go up, come down, and then go back to its triangle. Okay. Yours may slope down on the side, and then, let's see. Oh, that's too, what did I do? Okay, hold on. Let's slope it up. My bad. Okay, so let's go like that. We'll just change it all together. Okay, and then you may have one that slopes like more sad face. So I don't know, there's so many different scenarios for this, okay? You can do this a couple of ways. I'm gonna show you one way that makes it a little easier, is just take like a little oval and go like that, and then go like that. You could take one and go like that, go like that. And then this one may be flatter. So it's like this and like that, okay? Then on the bottom part, think about, let's say like a half of a sub sandwich, okay? Like that. And then maybe this one is longer, and then this one is flatter, just giving you different, you know, versions. And then we'll go back to the black and just kind of finish this off. So it's this part right here going into the mouth, and typically your center line will pass your lips. So you'll see some of this come out on the side. And then you'll go here, dipping there, then come there, then there, and then here, there's your center line there. Okay, and then this one would be maybe a little flatter, and then coming around. And then anytime you do that, you think of cross contour. So if this is a sphere, like a beach ball, the way you would shade that would be to kind of round out on the side, you know, doing the cross contour. Whoa, that's getting cheesy. You understand. Okay, then going here, same thing. We'll go out like this, okay? And then if the light is coming from the top, your upper lip will be darker than your lower lip. If the light comes from the bottom, that all reverses. But you want to pay attention to how you want that shading to be. Don't just shade it, you know, flat across like that, because it'll make it look flat. So you want to shade according to the volume of the mouth, okay? So imagine we have the philtrum there, we have the upper lip, and now we've turned the center line into a nice curved line based off of, you know, whoever we're drawing. We've got the lip there. There. Then we go to the ball of chin. Okay, so ball of chin, very simple. Whatever is underneath. Think about a bow tie. That's typically kind of how it looks, like a bow tie, you know, underneath. And that's typically in shadow mask if the light's coming from above. And that takes you directly to the ball of the chin. So we're going to go ahead and identify the ball of the chin here. You may have a cleft chin, you know, whatever your chin is doing. It could be more oval, it could be more round, it could be kind of heart shaped. It just depends on what your chin is doing, okay? And then remember, back to 1, okay? Go back to 1, which means now you're looking at, after you've got all these facial features in, how close is the head by the eyes? How does it come out at the cheek? Where are your cheekbones, you know? How does that come in? How does your jawline, where does your jawline hit? How does that come down? You got to identify all this first before the ears, because the ears are going to, you know, you want the ears on an accurate portrait. How does this come down? Where does it bend? All that stuff, okay? And then I come up to here. So I'm fixing number 1, just making sure, you know, my head shape is right and where it needs to be according to my face, whatever I need to put in there. Understanding the forehead has its own plane and then kind of goes back, you know, so I know where my hairline should be, things like that, okay? All right, so now as I fix number 1, I'm gonna go to the next step. Next step, we'll just kind of draw a line from there and turn that into number 9. Okay, so for number 9, we want to get the rest. Right now you have a floating head. Okay, so we need to have the rest of the bust, right? So remember, a bust is head, which we already have. Okay, so that's good. It's neck, which we don't have, and then partial shoulder. Okay, so unless you're doing half figure, partial shoulder is about what you see of me on Zoom. Okay, so that's partial shoulder. So let's talk about the neck, okay? Since we don't have that yet. So when we talk about the neck, remember that your neck, think about a soup can. Best way to kind of identify it like that. This is from an interior view from the front. This is going to be the pit of the neck here, okay? And then your head, this is the lower half of your head, is sitting on that soup can like this. So this is actually the bottom half of the head sitting on that neck, okay? And then, like I said, that's anterior. From a posterior, you're going to see something a little different. So we'll draw the opposite, which means now it's going like this, okay? And then, whoa, what did I do? Sorry. I didn't even know I could do that. My bad. All right, let's go back to here. So many things to learn. And then we'll go here, okay? So head is overlapping like this. So now this is the back of the head, which we call posterior, okay? And then this is the head right here. This is only half of it. So you can imagine the other half is covered by my writing. One thing to pick up on here is you all know that we have a spine, okay? It comes down. And then we have the rib cage, you know, so we're seeing that even from the back, we're seeing the rib cage. We're seeing the shoulder blades, the quick anatomy, you know, shoulder blades here, whatever, okay? But there's a muscle that's on the back side that's called the trapezius, and that stretches from the base of the cranial notch that going down kind of at a triangle like that, and then a diamond shape kind of back down here. And so you're seeing all these fibers like this. Now, the reason I'm bringing that up is because whenever you need a massage, you know, typically on your shoulders, you're getting some of that trapezius muscle, which is seen from the front and the back. So your shoulders are kind of going out like that, right? So from the front, if you draw your clavicle, which goes out like handlebars, okay? And then you see this angle coming down like that to the shoulders, that little triangle that I just drew for you, that's the trapezius. You want to make sure you get that right. Now, the more muscle you have, the bigger your trapezius, but we all have something there, some kind of slope. You can even see it on me now, how it kind of comes down and then goes out to my shoulders. So let me illustrate that on my head off to the right side. But remember, we had to fix the shape of the head in order to then go to the trapezius. So to make sure the neck is correct. So let's go here. So we're gonna, and then again, erase anything you don't need. So I'm gonna take, in this case, I'll take a little bit of my white and just kind of edit this face according to how I think it needs to be. And I'm not looking at anything, just making it up. It's a little tilted, so I'll try to fix some of that as I'm just editing some of this down. And then let's go back to the black and you know, watch symmetry. Not everyone has a symmetrical face, but you want to also pay attention to whether or not what you're drawing is something that's noticeable or something that's not that noticeable, okay? Meaning, do you need to put in the fact that your eye is slightly higher in real life? Because sometimes it'll just make the drawing look wrong, okay? Okay, so we got pit of the neck here. So you want to identify that soup can. Pit of the neck is right there. So when you inhale, Right there's pit of the neck. Okay, you've got clavicle coming out like this. So we want to draw that clavicle, and you look at your clavicle to see how to draw that. And if you take the height of the head from top of the head, bottom of the chin, and turn that sideways, the width of your shoulders is about 2 heads. So from here to here, and if I take this part and turn it sideways, that's 1 head. And if I take it and turn it sideways, that's 2 heads. So you've got 2 heads, and that's important because some people make their, shoulders way too narrow. So we're going to stretch that out like this, trapezius. Okay. And then from there, where the clavicle meets the trapezius is when your shoulder starts to turn like that. Okay, so just make sure you're not making your shoulders narrow. When you have a 3/4 view, those shoulders will kind of turn like this. So you'll have 1, 2, 3, which means this arm is in front of the torso, which is in front of that arm. So a little bit more overlapping. Okay, but always kind of check to see where your armpits are according to where your head is. So that's just an example. Again, that trapezius that I spoke about before, I'll just sketch a little bit of that. This is the trapezius that we're seeing from the front. Okay. All right. Now moving from there, we want to get, let's see, we've got head, neck, we've got partial shoulder. I told you that the shoulders is about 2 heads wide. So that brown length that I gave you in the beginning, right here to here, remember that? Okay. That's about this, like this. So that's 1 head and another head. Okay, just help you out. Now we want to go to hair. Okay, so we're going to go to number, oops, wrong color. Number 9. I'm sorry, 10. Okay, so number 10. Oh, I forgot the ears. We should do ears for number 10. Ears. Okay, ears are pretty simple. We'll keep that in a small box right there. I like to think of the ears more like a question mark. Okay, so when you build up your ears, you just kind of build it off of there. But in terms of alignment, we'll pick up a pink right here and show you that your ears from a frontal view will line up with the base of the nose. Okay, so that'll give you the bottom of your ear. And your ear from a frontal view will also line up with either the eyebrow, the eye, or in between. So somewhere here to here. Okay, and then again, just kind of thinking about how much ear is sticking out from where you are positioning your head, what's the shape of your ear, and kind of basing it off that question mark idea. The last thing I'll tell you about the ear is that it is back on the face. So you want to make sure that if you have light coming from this side, then the ear on this side is in shadow because it's behind and not catching the light source. So just pay attention to how you light your ear. And then the other thing is when I look up, my ear is going to drop closer to my shoulders. So the ear comes down when I look up and the ear goes up when I look down. So if you're looking up or down, you're paying attention to that. One last thing to keep in mind up here, I meant to mention to you, when you look up on illustration number 2 up here, remember we were talking about looking up. When you look up, then you're seeing more of the bottom plane of the jaw. So you actually have to draw that in. And then when you look down, you're seeing more of the top of the head. I did mention that part. Okay, so now moving back to where we are, hair. Okay, so we talked about ears very quickly. 11 is hair. Now, this is what I usually see with hair is I see a head like this and I see strings like that. So we call that spaghetti hair. I don't want to see spaghetti hair. That's, yeah, I don't. Even with my braids, I don't draw my hair like spaghetti. And this is like the ultimate. If you were to choose spaghetti, this is like the ultimate spaghetti. And I still don't do it that way. So anytime you draw hair, you want to think about a helmet. What's the silhouette of your hair? That's what we want to look for. Okay, so I'm going to kind of erase out some of this stuff on the drawing over here. So hopefully you got that down. I just want to take this out so I can get to the hair and show you guys how to do the hair. I guess I could have just taken an eraser. Would have been easier. Sorry. Okay, so let's just touch on this and take that out. All right, so when it comes to hair, you're thinking about that silhouette. You're thinking about what we call mapping out the hair. If you think about the state of California, what is the shape of it, okay? So let's assume this person has a comb over. I'm literally just gonna make this up, okay? So let's assume we have a hair that kind of goes across the face like that, okay? And then it comes here, not too much higher than the actual head. And the shape of it is what we're looking for. So what's that silhouette? Let's say this side is covered by the ear. So this side is maybe coming in the front, okay? And then we have it here and it's kind of doing that, okay? And then on this side, let's say it's going behind. So we've got something like that. Now I'm gonna give you this in a different color so I can help you understand. Once you get the silhouette, you're going to shade that in. Now, if you have lighter hair, you're going to shade it in not too heavy. And if you have darker hair, you're going to shade it in, again, not too heavy. You want to do like a medium to dark, okay? So let's say this is covering the ear on this side. So whatever medium you're using, if you're using graphite, you would do a light layer of graphite. And if it's darker hair, do a little bit of heavier layer, just don't go pitch black, okay? And then if you're doing charcoal, you're using willow to kind of shade that down, the whole thing down. Same thing, if it's subtractive charcoal, you're using that tone that's already shaded for the subtractive charcoal, which means the willow is already there. So you really don't have to do what I'm doing right now because it's already there, right? So let's talk about where you go from here. So now let's assume that this is that value. You're not doing any stringiness. You're blocking in the shape of that hair. Short or long, it doesn't matter. You're blocking in the shape of the hair. Now there's going to always be a part of that portrait or hair that has light and has dark. So let's assume that the light is coming from this way. So we'll just write right here, light. Okay. We want to get maybe the roots where this comes out a little bit darker. I'm going to change to a thinner marker so that this is easier to see. So let's say from the roots, it gets a little darker here. Okay, and even on this side, let's say it gets a little darker because even if the light's coming from that way, you'll still have the same thing. So you'll darken up here by shading that area, okay? Even on here, there'll be some areas where it gets a little darker like that. And then maybe over here as it condenses together. So you're looking for those major darker shapes, okay? Typically where it starts to go behind, you know, the ear a little bit or whatever, you know, over here, major folds, you know, so if you have a major turn of the hair, this would be where I'm blocking in major things of my braids. If I had braids to draw, things like this. Okay, so you're identifying your darker darks. It's not going to be everywhere, okay, but identifying those darker darks. Now we also know that this side of the hair typically would have a little bit more shadow mass in it, okay? So I may have some areas where I still see the curls, okay? So maybe something's picking up a little bit on a reflected light. This area will probably be really dark because it's behind the ear, starting to go behind the shoulders and whatnot, okay? So something like that, all right? Then I go into my, either if we're doing subtractive charcoal, I'm lifting out. If we're doing white and black charcoal, I'm again lifting out and then maybe possibly adding white. And then if we're in color, same ideas, okay? So you want to start to identify where that light is actually hitting, you know, and it's not going to be a straight line going across. Sometimes it's more of a zigzaggy kind of thing. Maybe that's where that highlight is going. But then I also have some areas in here where it's just generalized lifted out to show that it's more of a light mass than a shadow mass, you know, picking up on whatever curls or overlays in terms of, you know, waves in the hair are there. So I'm just adding those lights, adding those darks, okay? And it's more of a shaded method. It's not stringy, okay? Same thing on this side, actually, I forgot. I won't put any white on the other side. I'll just use that willow or use that lighter area, which is the purple, okay? So we've got the light, medium, and dark. So you understand that? Okay, so it's not gonna be so much of stringiness that we're going for. It's more so what's the actual shape of the hair and what's actually happening. One thing to also keep in mind is you can see me going over that black right now. You don't want to have any outlines. Okay, so whatever the hair is, the hair is. You're not actually outlining the hair, so I just want to be clear on that. There's no outline there, okay? And then we do what we call flyaways, okay? So anything, they're little wisps of hair, anything that kind of pops out, you know, you want to maybe show that. Any bottom part of the hair that may be a little bit more separated, not everywhere. You don't want to do too much because then we get back into spaghetti hair. You know, maybe something's coming out over here, or there's a little hair that kind of comes in like that. So you're picking up on those little things. And then you could also do things where you lift out. You know, maybe there was a little gap of hair right here, so you had to take that out altogether to show the background. So, you know, assuming that our background is there, then you might want to lift that out. So that's just an example of that. When it comes to shading the portrait, remember that you're getting that light source consistent with what actually is there. So I'll give you an example. You would start to shade, you know, whatever cast shadows from the hair, okay? Typically, maybe this side of the face has value in it. So you're shading there, you're shading the side of the nose, probably in this area also. And then maybe you get a little light on the cheek right here. So you're saving that. The ear, the whole side of the face is in shadow mass. You'll have a cast shadow from the nose. So you want to get that cast shadow from the nose. You may see a little light right there as well. Upper lip gets a little darker. So we'll go ahead and shade that upper lip. Even on this side, you know, you're going to have shadows and darknesses in the eyes. So those things will still exist. You'll have, you know, underneath the eyelid, the eyebrow will be there. And by the way, when you draw an eyebrow, you want to sketch out the shape of the eyebrow. And then just like we did in the hair, you work it the same way. So just real quick, you want to find the shape of the eyebrow, find the arch of the eyebrow, shade that in. And then you're going to take your darks and you're going to go darker where you need to. So typically, you know, maybe a little darker here. And then as it comes out, maybe not so dark. So you're getting some strands within that. But then you'll also want to go back and lift out. So it won't be so connected everywhere. So you want to just kind of lift out some of the edges like this so that you're getting that eyebrow effect like that. So that's how I do mine. It's not so much like this is what we're, you know, it's not the spaghetti. That's not going to give you the eyebrow. Okay, so let me just write that on there. Eyebrow is going to be here, not there. Okay, so no stringy, no hair, no stringiness on the hair, whether it's a beard or anything like that. Okay, so keep that in mind. So again, just kind of recapping the hair, you're drawing the shape of it first. Okay, so if this is the neck, it's the shape. So pay attention to shape. Okay. All right, now going back to the portrait, just kind of finishing this up. I'm going to finish shading here. You'll see a cast shadow from the neck. So we want to see that as well. You'll have a cast shadow underneath the lip. You'll have the ball of the chin, have a little bit of shadow mask. You may see a little bit of value in this side. It's not necessarily shadow mask, but value to indicate, you know, eye sockets and all that. So you don't let your light mask flatten out. Okay, so whatever muscle structure you're seeing here, typically this whole half of the body has some kind of value in it. So if you have your tank top or t-shirt or whatever, that's going to end up being in value as well. So you'll have a little bit of value here. Okay, and then that's pretty much your portrait. You want to make sure that in your paper, you're getting this a good size. So typically the shoulders kind of go off the page. If you're working on 18 by 24, you may have something like this where it comes down and then this is the bottom. Shoulders are heading off the page. And then I'll just kind of go around this. And then let's say you have about that much space above your head. That would make a really good portrait. Otherwise, what happens is you're getting into half figure. So you want to do something like that is good. Okay. You don't want to do, if this is your paper, you don't want to do a head way down here. Okay. Where you're kind of going off the page. This is bad. Okay. Too much negative space. You also don't want to do something like this where you go too high and now you're going into half figure. So now we're getting, you know, down to the belly button. We don't want to, this is also bad. Okay, so make sure you're positioning your head where it needs to be. And it'll be somewhat, I would say this would be about life size plus, which means it could be bigger than life size as well. But if you go smaller, then you'll have a problem. So that is the ending of the portrait. I hope that helps you guys. Let me go ahead and stop this recording. I'll stop sharing. And yeah, so refer to any notes that you have if you're taking my class. And if you're not, then good luck with everything, okay?